Hi everyone, I wanted to do a quick update because this week I believe is quite interesting and quite important for crypto. And I want to show you some correlations with stock market, with the reaction on FOMC meetings, and the decision that the Fed potentially will do, and of course how this relates to crypto and to the price of Bitcoin, most importantly at this moment. But let's start with the basics. As you can see, we haven't really moved that much. Everybody and their grandmas are expecting a bounce, at least into this area right here. So we pretty much sold off. We filled the wick here. The good news is that we didn't close weekly, and I don't even think we closed daily below this 78 level. And now everybody's hoping for a bounce, to sell on the bounce, to offload their backs eventually, or if you're drinking too much hopium, maybe a run up into all-time highs. And I think this is starting to look a bit like a crowded trade, and I see the signs also on the charts, but just for already a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, we've been expecting a bounce, and we're saying, okay, the stock market has sold off so many weeks in a row. Very bad news. Now this week, Trump hasn't really announced anything about tariffs, so maybe that's good. Maybe markets will bounce here, but the big question is, like, how much they will bounce, and will they bounce, and of course, what will be the reaction to crypto? Because it's quite interesting to see what's happening right now on the market. And let's just play out the scenarios here. So first of all, obviously, we can get a bounce, and what could cause price to get at least to like 90k, maybe even higher for a bounce, and then maybe a leg lower, or obviously we can consolidate back into this range. But my base case is that potentially in the long term we get another leg lower. What could cause this? So first of all, on the daily, I would say we have a very clear level here to play with. So anything around 84 has formed on the lower time frames, like an important level, and just yesterday we had another rejection of this level. It's where this wick pretty much closed the daily, and it's where on the bounce pretty much we have seen some price action and some consolidation around this 84k area. And this actually, if you just look at the chart like this, simply on the daily, it looks like a very clear downtrend, and it looks like this could be even the lower high here compared to this one. Obviously, we got the lower low or so. On the closing basis, we did it pretty much. And then this could form just a lower high. So unless we start seeing on the 4-hour at least breaks above 84, I would say that this scenario becomes a lot less likely. And I would even say that the base case is, if we don't break above 84, 85 and start closing consistently, I would say we could probably take a while to resolve here. And I cannot tell you to which side, but I think this could take a while. If we start closing below 78 consistently, even on the 4-hour, I would be looking at the next level down. But I wouldn't be surprised if we just bore everybody to death in this little place here that doesn't look that significant, but it's starting to have a lot of reactions on the bottom and on the top of this mini range here. So be prepared for this. And I always ask this question to myself and to anyone that's asking me to analyze. Like, is this a trade that you will be taking? If you have sitting Bitcoin right now, and maybe you bought here because you're hoping it will break resistance. Maybe you bought here at the 78 area. What I did was like bought the lows here, sold the high here. Pretty much I started offloading a lot of the Bitcoin, all of pretty much Bitcoin that I bought here, but even a little bit more. But now, if you have a position in Bitcoin that you still want to sell, ask yourself the question with the probabilities here. So if, let's say, we're here and you're risking, this is about 7-8%, let's say, if we start breaking consistently here, this means you start selling your Bitcoin because potentially will go lower. If we have this type of setup, is this a trade that you will be willing to take? Because technically you do have this trade right now if you're holding Bitcoin and you're considering to sell it on a bounce. Because this is like 1.3 R, so it's not a tremendous trade to have, and it's something to ask yourself, because the potential then for downside from here, I think it's quite significant. And not only this, but also the potential for this becoming a lot longer and resolving a lot longer is much, much higher. Because if we get into this area, into like the 70s, I don't think that's a great sign for the market. Yes, I'm leaning bearish overall, even for a bounce. But from here, you could make the case that this could form something like we had here, or we could reclaim and then chop, 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 and then go for an all-time high break. But if we go down to 70, I think the time for an all-time breakout will be a lot further in the future. I just wanted to point this out, and again, ask yourself this question: would you be taking this trade? I did sell a little bit of Bitcoin around this area right here, because I just want to start getting more balanced and getting a lot more cash for my portfolio, because as I said, I'm longer term bearish. So in the next 3 to 6 months, I believe price action will be either choppy or a lot more bearish. And I want to be prepared for the bear case, like for the deep bear case. If we get into like 60, 70, maybe we get a bounce, or maybe even lower, because again, if we get into a recession or seller gets liquidated or something like this, I wouldn't be surprised to see even much lower prices. And this requires a lot of patience, because right now it looks like nothing's happening. You're bored, you're waiting for something to happen, but then it doesn't happen on your timeline that you're expecting. It's a mind game right now, I believe, the price action. And even if price bounces here and we get into this area, I'm like, would you be selling here? Are you ready to sell here? If you think you're gonna start saying like, okay, this is an all-time high breakout again, we're back, everything's bullish again, let's do it. So maybe you'll cloud your judgment and you won't be able to sell here, or you don't want to sell here, because then you're not focused on this. And what my plan is, pretty much, if I've started scaling out, as I said. So if we get a bounce, I'm selling pretty much everything in this area. If we don't get a bounce, I would still sell. Like, I would still DCA out of whatever I have left, even at a lower price, and then I'll just sit on my hands. Because what could happen is that this could take forever to resolve. I could mentally drag it. Do I sell? Do I buy? Whatever. And this could affect my overall strategy. Because even if we get into a bull market, I think, bull market in the next like few weeks, I think there will be opportunities to enter. Like, if we get into here and I've sold everything, let's say in the 90 to 95 area, and we see something like this, I wouldn't have a problem of buying, or even on our all-time high breakout, because this would probably take a while to resolve. But why not? I think there will be plenty of opportunities to enter, even if this resolves very bullishly. But I want to be prepared on the discounts, on the downside, because I think it's pretty good. And the next question is, if you believe that this here is the top of the market, I would argue about this, that, let me just measure this. So from top to where we are right now, it's 24% down. I would say this is not a bad place to sell if you manage the cycle well, and if you have significant Bitcoin position and you're still wondering if you should hold it or you want to take profit. I don't think it's a terrible trade, because while we're in the trenches and we're looking at this and we're like, oh no, this is going to bounce, and then I'm going to be the best trader in the world and I'm going to sell the bounce, buy the low, sell the high, and so. It doesn't need to be. Like, look at the previous cycle. If you sold like 25% down, you're Gucci, man. Like, you sold pretty much the top. If you sold at 48, 49K last cycle and not at 60, you did well, bro. Because after that, you avoided pretty much 70% drawdown. Same from here. Like, I showed you the first push, but even from here, like to here, 25% is like pretty much somewhere around here, 51K. So pretty good sell points if you ask me long term So I'm not mad. I'm not taking this as, oh, I lost money, this didn't bounce. No, I'm like, okay, I was patient. I was putting the risk on because I believe we could have had another leg up. It's not playing out, obviously. So now I need to be flexible enough to cut my losses. And same goes with current trades. Like, as I told you, this level here is important and looks like we're rejecting from it again. So I have a sold position opened, which looks like this. But for now, so my plan here pretty much, very simply put, this level holding for quite some time, weekly wick here last week. We didn't technically get the close above within the range. Still, I decided to take a position, average cost around 127. And again, we bounced back into the range. This is on the daily, so significant time frame. However, forming as of today lower high here. So I'm very willing to just cut this because my original stop loss was here. But if I just see, this not playing out in the next day or two, or even today, I'll just cut it, and that's it. I don't care really, because at this time I'm more of a capital preservation mode, and I have spoken about this in length during the bear market. But I don't think now is the best time to start risking all your capital or significant chunks of your capital. Sure, I could prop this because I still believe we get a bounce somewhere, but it might not be here. It might take a few months. It might be in like a year or so after prolonged downtrend. And one other thing that I wanted to show you is with the S&P. S&P is technically bouncing. Like yesterday, the day before on Friday when it was trading, starting to bounce. But what you really should be scared of, because this has happened in the past, like we know what happens to Bitcoin when we have this price action on the S&P. So when it's downtrending, like Bitcoin is never going up. However, there has been times where stocks go up, yet risk assets like Bitcoin don't go up. So even if the S&P comes in here and does this, or maybe chop, who the hell knows, I don't think that Bitcoin should necessarily have the bounce that we all want, because it's a risk asset. It's looked in a different way. People are exhausted in crypto, honestly, just my opinion and how it feels. We've had all the bullish catalysts that obviously didn't trigger price much higher, and that's it. Like I wouldn't be hoping 100% for a bounce when the S&P bounces, and then obviously it depends what happens. What could change my opinion for now? It would be significant strength or significant news that could potentially change the course of the market. So for example, the Fed coming out cutting rates early, Trump stopping the BS with the tariffs, maybe the war in Ukraine stopping, having the ceasefire and then negotiating a peace. All kinds of catalysts that we could really have. It could happen. And that's why I'm not completely excluding the bullish case. I'm just like a lot more cautious, because from what I've seen, it's worth being cautious right here. And when it comes to the FOMC meeting, there's one piece of data that I was trying to find, like how does Bitcoin behave when we have a meeting, and depending on the decision of the Fed, how does it relate to stocks, and obviously how does it perform in the week or two. And surprise, surprise, I did the research and there's absolutely no correlation. So there will be a lot of volatility, I'm guessing, within the day or two surrounding the FOMC meeting. However, you can see here on the first part of the graph, this is the S&P price 24 hours after the meeting with the decision here. So pretty much the last 11 meetings were all remained the same, so they haven't really cut or increased rates. So good data set in my opinion right here. And the S&P has been slightly up in some of the situations and mostly flat in the last few meetings, pretty much the last 3 or 4 meetings. And when it comes to Bitcoin, first of all, you can see it's a lot more colorful, so absolutely no correlation with the S&P here, at least in the shorter term, like after a week of the FOMC meeting. And then, obviously it doesn't matter what the outcome here is, and it's pretty much, it's a piece of data that doesn't really tell you something, but it tells you that it's a major event, but overall, longer term, it just doesn't play such a significant role with the prices and with the markets. And I just wanted to point out this because a lot of people are stressing out about this or trying to trade around it. I think it's close to impossible to find edge surrounding this, and I think a lot of the things could be seen on the charts. Like as I said, like on the 4-hour, on the daily, you could see reactions here and there that give you enough information to make decisions. And these kind of wicks, they're not great. And if we start breaking this structure within this tiny range, so if we start breaking this level around here and then shifting into lower highs, lower lows, you gotta be prepared for this. You gotta be mentally prepared that maybe we don't get a bounce because everybody's expecting it. The market doesn't usually do all the things that we expect it to do. So be prepared for this. That's everything for this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one.